What? Yeah, I have pants.
Shabbat shalom. Welcome to our friends who are joining us virtually. Let's begin. Can everybody hear me okay? Begin in the Siddur, page 141. 141, chance to gather ourselves under the ohel, the tent, wherever we are. Page 141, last line. Bani tefilati lecha Adonai et ratzon Elohim berov chasdecha Aneni be'emet yishecha. Morning blessings begin in our Siddur, page 153. The custom to rise in body and in spirits and greet this day together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim, hamevin she'nam einai utnuma ve'afafai.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim, anoten l'sech bivina le'achvin ben yom uven laila.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim, rokah haaretz al hamayim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim, bokeach ivrim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim, malbish arumim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim, matir asurim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim, zokef kefufim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim, hamevin mitzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim, she'asa li kol tzorkim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim, ozer Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim, oter Yisrael b'tifara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim, she'asani b'tzalmo. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim, she'asani ben chori. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim, she'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim, hanoten li'aev koach. Amen.
Continuing from our seats, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yatzar et ha'adam. Baruch atah Adonai rofecho basar machli la'asot. 165. Eloi neshama shenatata bi tehora hi, ata berata ata yitzarta ata nefachta bi. And 167, deep breath together. Kol zman she'haneshama b'kirbi, modani lefanecha Adonai Elohai, Eloi avotai v'imotai, ribon kol ha'masim, adon kol haneshamot. Baruch atah Adonai, asher beyado nefesh kol chai, veruach kol basar. Let those words ring in our ears and our hearts. We are held in the palm of the Creator. And let's turn ahead now to page 177 in the Siddur, and actually to follow these English verses that are not printed there. Keep forgetting that. But we respond to each of these verses in praise of the Creator with Baruch Hu u'Baruch Shemo. Blessed is God and blessed is God's name. Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo. Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo. Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one whose speech is the world. Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one forever creating. Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one speaking and acting. Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one separating and sustaining. Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one whose love fills the earth. Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo. Blessed 227 now. Baruch Adonai leolam, amen ve'amen. Baruch Adonai mitzion, shochen Yerushalayim, hallelujah. Baruch Adonai Elohim, Elohei Yisrael, oseh niflot levado. Baruch Shem kevodo leolam, v'yimalech kevodo et kol haaretz. Amen ve'amen. Page 241. Please join me in the middle of the page. Shochenad marom vekadosh shemo vechatuv ranenu tzadikim b'Adonai la'isharim nava tehila b'visharim titromam u'b'divrei tzadikim titbarach u'b'lashon hasidim titkadash ובקרב קדושים תתעלה. Next page. ובמחלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל שכן חובת כל היצורים לפניך. להודות, להלל, לשבח, לפאר, לרומם, להדר, לברך, להלל, לקלס, על כל דברי שירות ותשבחות דוד בן ישי, עבדך משיחך, ישתבח שמך, לעד מלכנו, אל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ. כי לך נאה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, שירו שחר, הלל וזמרה, עוז וממשלה, נצח גדולה, גדולה וגבורה, תהילה ותפארת, קדושה ומלכות, ברכות והודאות, מעתה ועד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודעות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך אל חיי העולמים. Let's pause for a moment. Today is a big step for our community. Felt myself welling up with tears, just like I remember doing on the first service on Zoom, just over a year ago, and actually a lot of services since then. For many of us, it's the first time in this building in over a year, and certainly the first time in this space together, and certainly the first time in this space together, praying together and hearing the Torah together. We want to especially reach out with love and connection to our friends who are joining us on Zoom. This is the first time in over a year that we won't all be able to see each other, but we somehow have to feel each other. And we're still all in community together, still all celebrating Shabbat together wherever we are, as we take this first little tiny step into what I think is going to be a new normal for us. And what a blessing for those of us who are able to be here, and for those of us who are able to be wherever we are on Zoom, that we're here together in health, with many blessings in our lives, with many new insights from a year and a half that has been like no other. So with that extra measure of gratitude and gentling ourselves into this new threshold, acknowledging that our nervous systems are not wired to just turn it off like a switch, but to go one step at a time, we can turn to the Chatzi Kaddish, which will lead us into the Baruch Hu this morning, page 245, acknowledging this transition and then coming together to standing to call ourselves into prayer. First, 245. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועמד דברה חילותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי בכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב, אמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה ומבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. Let's all rise together in our bodies, our spirits, and find that little bend in the knee that signals our gratitude. Page 247, please respond after me. Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach.
Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam יוצר אור ובורא חושך, עושה שלום ובורא את הכל. Continuing from our seats 253 or 255, or sing along somehow. Gratitude to the Creator once again for this gift of creation that holds us, that animates us, and from which we find constant nourishment and vision. Lai, 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 ברוך ומבורך לפי כל נשמה, גודלו וטובו מלא עולם, דעת ותבונה סובבים אותו, המתגאה על חיות הקודש ונדר בכבוד, על המרכבה זכות ומישור לפני יסוד, חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו, טובים מאוד אשר ברא אלוהינו יצר ודעת ובינה ושכל, כוח וגבורה נתן בהם, להיות מושלים בקרב תבל, מלאים זיו ומפיקים נוגה, נערי זיווה בכל העולם, שמחים בצאתם וששים בבואם, עושים בהם הרצון עונם, פאר בכבוד ג' לשמו, צולה ורינה לזכר מלכותו, קרא בשמש ויזרח אור, רעד והתקין צורת הלבנה, שבע נותנים לו כל צבא מעלום, תפארת וגדולה, שרפים ואופנים, וחיות הכל. ויזכח כולנו במהרה לאורו, ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות. Page 275, leading us into the morning Shema.
והאר עינינו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבינו לאהבה וליראה את שמך, לא נבוש ולא ניכלם ולא ניכשל לעולם ועד, כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגיל ונשמחה בישועתך, והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו וממיות לארצנו, כי אל פועל וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול, סלע באמת, להודות לך ולייחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, ושבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Silently now. Page 285. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם בדורותם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית, וריתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמן. Page 291. תהילות ליל עליון, ברך ומבורך, משה ומרים ובני ישראל, לך אנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ויאמרו כולם. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש, עושה נורא תהילות, עושה פלא. שירה חדשה, שיבחו גאולים לשמך על שרפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמלכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צור ישראל ברוך דכינו מך יהודה וישראל גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל ברוך אתה אדוני God Israel. The Amidah begins on page 295. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yehilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה, page 299. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מחכה חיים וחסד, מחיה כל חי ורחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה לחיות כל חי. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה כל חי. page 303. מקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשני מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. אז בקול רש גדול, אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול, מתנשאים לעומת שרפים, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. page 305. ממקומך מכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון בקרוב ימינו לעולם ועד תשכון. תתקדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, ולנצח נצחים. ועינינו תראינה מלכותך, כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי אלייך ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה, לדור ודור, נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, לשבחך אלוהינו מפינו לו, ימוש לעולם ועד. כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. Silently. מודים אנחנו שאתה צורכנו שים שבת אפילו עושה שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום, הוא יעשה שלום, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן.
I'd like to turn to that last verse of Psalm 29, which is printed in our Siddur on page 435. The verse that says, Adonai Oz le'amo yitain. That source of life is a source of strength, Oz. And maybe the thing that we need the most strength for is to make peace. That's how the psalmist ends the message to us, by saying, Adonai yivarech et amo b'shalom. Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo. Adonai It's a time for us to transition to the Torah service now. And I want to just pause again for a little bit of extra ritual this morning. When the pandemic first descended in our area, one of the things we realized we needed to do quickly was take the Torahs out of the ark, put them in safe storage so that if, God forbid, there was any kind of anything that happened to the building, the Torahs would be safe. So they've been in a fire-safe closet down the hall, except for the one that's been in rotation to our Bar Mitzvah families. They've all been just waiting there for us to come back. So here we are, and the ark is empty. I wanted us to have a moment to actually see the Torahs going back into the ark, which is such a powerful reflection of us coming back into the room. We're now going to come to the Torah scrolls, our Torah scrolls that have been part of our community for the whole journey, but to bring the Torah that we are now, the Torah that we've acquired in this last year, to that ancient script and scroll. I need to have 3 volunteers. So we already have Betsy Turetsky will have the honor of opening the ark, Elizabeth. But I need to have 3 other volunteers who feel comfortable to hold a Torah scroll. Dinah, Audrey, and I'm going to say Sarah Werner. Yeah. Great. I recognize you with your mask. We'll ask the 3 of you to come forward. We'll help you to take the Torah in your arms, and we'll put the scrolls back in the ark, and then we'll begin what has become our Torah service. So as a custom to rise whenever the Torah is lifted or risen, ask us all to rise and ask the 3 honorees to come forward. And let's see, Jonathan, could I ask you to just help them each take the Torah? And Betsy, if you'll come up and open the Aron. Ya la 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 So ask Audrey to hold on to the one scroll that we will read from today, and invite you, Jeff, to lead us on page 387, in the Siddur.
Be'anarachetz Belishme Kadisha Ya Kadisha Ya Kira Ana Amatu Shpechan Be'anarachetz Be'anarachetz Belishme Kadisha Kadisha Yakira Ana Amartu Shpechan Yehi Rabba Kodamach V'tiftach libi be'oraita V'tashlim mishalim V'libi V'liba dechol amach Yisrael L'tavu chayim V'lishlam Amen. Oh, yeah. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo. Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo. Gadol Adonai Romema Shemo.
We can be seated. I feel confident that the Torah procession will be back with us at some point. Although maybe not just yet. So we try to navigate our way through exactly which restrictions or protections we should still observe. And I just want to acknowledge that I hope people in the room here are feeling fine. You're all sitting a lot closer together than I thought you would be. So that's your choice because there's plenty of room here. But again, just acknowledging today as an important step, one small step. Sorry, I'm not pretending to be like we're on the moon, even though I just felt that way. One small step in a series of steps that we'll take as a community to be fully back together. Integrating the amazing gifts of technology. I've had interactions with colleagues and other synagogue leaders over the last year who we've all kind of shrugged and said, we spend so much time thinking through exactly how to use technology or not use it on Shabbat. We went through conversations in our community and woo, we're allowing ourselves to surrender to this new reality and to benefit from the gifts of being able to be connected. This morning, we're going to read from a section of Parashat Naso, the second parasha of the book of Numbers. And the text will turn us towards the role of the priests in administering civility, justice, well-being to the community. This morning, we're going to read a section from chapter 5, and I'll say a little bit more about that in just a second. And then hear the maftir reading. And we have some wonderful life cycle celebrations to celebrate today. We have some wonderful new faces to welcome to our community and some wonderful old friends to welcome back. For those of us that understand the Torah as being canonized, let's say, firmed and closed around the 1st century CE, even with its divine inspiration, its divine spark, we understand that there was some human editing and human compiling, at least that's the way I understand it. It's always interesting to come to a segment of the Torah like we're going to hear this morning and remind ourselves that in those first centuries of the Common Era, especially that 1st century, our very first rabbis were canonizing, were choosing what made the cut, partially based on what they thought they needed to maintain as instructions for the future, for a future return to Jerusalem, for a future return to the temple. So I believe when we read chapter 5 today that we have to read it as instructions by an editor saying, don't forget, this is an important thing that the priest has to know how to do when you go back. And of course, we never went back. Or you could say, we've gone back, but not exactly the way those ancestors dreamt. We have more to say about that return later this morning. We're going to read this morning the bewildering, to our eyes, confounding passage known as the Sota, or in English, the wayward woman. A woman who was accused of infidelity, and then in an episode that to us looks like it's taken right from the witches of Salem, made to ingest bitter waters, water mixed with earth, and then to see how she reacts. And if she reacts one way, it confirms her guilt, and if she reacts another way, she's confirmed innocent. Sort of like in the stories we know from the witches of Salem, if you die, that meant that you were innocent. And if you live, that probably meant you were supposed to be cursed for the rest of your life. So to our eyes, it's at best misogynistic. We'll see in these verses that the male partner in the infidelis relationship has no responsibility. Only the woman bears the guilt, sort of like the way we treat Chava, Eve, in the creation story. She's the one that caused the temptation. She's the one that's blamed for it. So I invite us this morning to step back from our current prescription glasses, to be glad that we have our current prescription glasses, and to know that we live in a society that's going to continue to refine those prescription glasses as we look to create space for all genders to feel equally legitimate, equally just, but to understand that we come from this history. And that especially, as I've said, I believe this text is meant for the people who canonized it to say, don't forget this important thing, priests, when you go back. So it's okay that we don't maintain this tradition. I think even more important to me, at least for this morning, is that Parashat Naso goes on to describe the completion of the tabernacle. We're going to hear more about that, that theme of being in a space together in just a few minutes. But it says, once again, here we are at the completion of the physical space, and each of the tribes is asked to bring forth a gift so that the space could be properly completed. In fact, it's this parasha that we read from on Hanukkah. Each day of Hanukkah, we read a little piece of this because it's about the dedication of a space, Chanukot Habayit. and how fitting for us today. Again, whether here in person or whether here via Zoom, so I don't know which camera even to look at. This place, as Rena and Rabbi Fred have both said to me, it's not really a homecoming because we've never left. We've never left each other. But this space is now going to be alive again with our presence and our gifts and our learning and our struggles and our insights. And that's one of the ways we can understand the passages that will follow our chapter 5, the part that we're reading aloud today. And of course, it's impossible in an introduction to Parashat Naso not to mention this is the parasha that gives us the priestly blessing, that beautiful 3-line prayer formula, which we'll say more about a little bit later. Okay, so with that, I'd like to turn ahead to the readings. And what a delight to be able to call forward Patty and Harvey Iglarsh for the first Aliyah and Pam Summers as our reader. We're going to try to maintain some physical distance here on the bima, doing our very best. Let's put this away. ויעזור ויגן ויושיע לכל החוסים בו ונאמר אמן. הכל הבו בודה לאלוהינו תנו כבוד לתורה יעמדו. רחל בת לב נחום ומרים ואת צבי יוסף בן ראובן ובת ציון לעלייה הראשונה, ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל. הם הדליקים באדוני אלוהיכם, חיים כולכם היום. One second. It's you're on mute.
Chapter 5 verse 11, but we have to find it first.
Numbers chapter 5 verses 11 through 15. And just ask for your patience as we relocate ourselves.
Well, there's a lot that starts.
10:51 in the old cloud, 26 in the new. Thank
I know, but so many of them start the same way.
Yeah.
This is not it. This is not it. Oh, that's the one. Yes, that's the one. This is the one. Yep, yeah, that's right. Ish. That's right. It's ish.
Yes, is that what you meant?
Ish. No, I lost it again. Oh, it's right here. It's right here. Mhm. That's not it. It's right here. I'm sorry. It's here. It's here.
Baruch et Adonai Baruch.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Adonai
Baruch Adonai Baruch V'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam. Asher Asher Kervanu Lavodato, V'natan Lanu et Torato, Baruch Atah Adonai, Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael v'amarta alehem ish ki tisteh ishto u'malavo ma'al v'shachav ishota shifat zera v'nala minei isha v'nistera v'hi nitma'a ve'edein ba ve'hu lo nitpasa ve'hi lo nitpasa ve'avar alav ruach kin'ah v'kinei et ishto ve'hi nitma'a o'avar Allah ruachina v'kinei et ishto v'hilo nitma'a v'hevi ha'ish et ishto el hakohen v'hevi et korbana eleha asirita efa kemach sorim lo yotzei alav shemen v'lo yitein alav l'dona ki minchat kenaot u'minchat zikaron miskeret avon.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tokenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Harvey and Patty, I'm going to ask you to switch places with me. I'm just spacing us a little bit. We want to thank you for coming forward this morning. You've been a presence in our community for a little while, but I think you officially joined as members close to the time of the beginning of the pandemic. And so most of your time in this community as members has been there. And so it's
These
especially.
people are a lot bigger than us.
They're a lot bigger. Yes. Yeah, it's taking all, no, it's good. It's taking all of us a while to adjust to the fact that we all have limbs and body parts. And I'm so glad that we do. But I just want to acknowledge that even in the short time that you've been part of this community already, your gifts have been obvious to us, artistically, intellectually, spiritually. And we look forward to continuing to get to know you and to solicit your many gifts to the future of our journey together.
Thank you. It's really very much a pleasure to have been here, even if only on Zoom.
Yes, I remember several times in Zoom breakthrough groups
Right.
on Shabbat being with you.
Absolutely.
So
And singing as well. So
Yes.
I'm really delighted.
yes. Yishar Koach. And I think for today, we will let go of the custom of asking the honorees to remain on the bima just to try to maintain these distances we're asked to in safety. Kol hakavod, Yishar Koach, and we can't wait to continue. Oh, I can't figure out when this goes on. Okay, second aliyah, to call Harriet and Clem Sugarman. Where are you? Ya'amdu Hershale bat Shimon v'menucha v'chanan ben Lev v'Leah la'aliyah hashliya. One moment.
Right. Okay, there's what your smile is.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamorah. Baruch Adonai Hamorah le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam. Asher kirbanu levadoto. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. והקריב אותה הכהן והעמידה לפני אדוני. ולקח הכהן מים קדושים בכלי חרס ומן העפר אשר יהיה בקרקע משכן. ייקח הכהן ונתן אל המים. והעמיד הכהן את האישה לפני אדוני ופרע את ראש האישה ונתן על כפיה את מנחת הזיכרון, מנחת הקנאות היא, וביד הכהן יהיו מהמרים המערערים. והשביע אותה הכהן ואמר אל האישה אם לא שכב איש אותך ואם לא סטית טומאה תחת אישך הנה כי מימי המרים המעוררים האלה ואת כי סטית תחת אישך כי נטמאת ויתן ישפך את שכבתו מבלעדי אישך והשביע הכהן את האישה בשבועת העלה ואמר הכהן לאישה ייתן אדוני אותך לעלה ולשבועה בתוך עמך ותת אדוני את ירכך נופלת ואת בטנך צבא ובאו המים המעוררים האלה במאייך לצפות בטן ולנפיל ירך ואמרה האישה אמן אמן.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Harriet and Clem, who are certainly not new members, having led this community, having participated and guided and brought so much of yourselves, what a pleasure to welcome you here this morning to celebrate your 49th wedding anniversary.
50th of our first date and 49th.
50th of your first date and 49th of your wedding. Wow, I didn't realize the 50th part. Well, we of course just celebrated the holiday of Shavuot, which is a holiday of counting up to 49 and then celebrating on the 50th. And so 49 is a number that's filled with anticipation of receiving great things. When we get to the 49th day in the count, we know we're about to receive Torah. And then we get to the 50th day and celebrate.
You are so creative.
We wish you the same feeling at reaching 49 years together, that there's an enormous new chapter waiting for you, that there's a great teaching of Torah, of your life, that's about to be revealed and to nourish you and to your amazing sons and their families and your grandchildren and all the people that have been blessed to be in your circle.
Good to see you all.
Please join me in saying a hearty Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov. Third Aliyah, and I should say I'm noticing in the chat some wonderful messages of congratulations. So Harriet and Clem, you'll want to check that out as well. Thank you so much to Pam Summers, and we'll continue now with the third Aliyah. It's an honor to call forward Susan Kaplan. Ta'amod la'aliyah hashlishit Shlomit bat Livia v'David. And now we're chapter 5. Where are we? Verses 23 through 26.
Baruch et Adonai havarach.
Baruch Adonai
Baruch et Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kivanu l'avodato v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Amen. V'chatav et taonot hakohen b'sefer u'macha mehamarim v'hishka et haisha et mehamarim hamarim uva hamayim hamarim ngamarim v'ngakach hakohen miyad haisha et minchat hakanaot v'hinif et hamincha nifnei Adonai v'ikriv et v'ikriv ota en hamizbeach v'kamatz hakohen min hamincha et az karata v'iktir hamizbecha ve'achar yashke et haisha et hamayim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam notal b'tachenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Susan Kaplan, who also is no new person in this community, but apparently coming up today for your first Aliyah, which is amazing to me. And I'm so glad that it could be today for reasons that we'll explain just shortly. But to wish you all good things as you stand close to the Torah, good health, loved ones to be near you, and the blessing of memories.
Thank you.
And we will acknowledge the special reason for your Aliyah today in just a moment. So thank you, Susan Kaplan. Pause here for our prayer for healing. As we come back into the sanctuary today for the first time, we feel so aware of how much the Mishaberach Lecholim, the prayer for healing, has become such a central magnetic prayer for us in the last year and a half as we've prayed not only for our own loved ones, but also for the many people all over the world who have tried to find their way through this singular time. For today, inviting those of us who are on Zoom to please feel free to share the names of loved ones who are in our prayers in the chat, and inviting those who are here in the room, if you have someone in particular that you're holding in prayer, to rise if you're able. And all together, all at once, let's send up their names out loud. Mekor habracha leimotenu, may the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu, mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Refuah shlema, healing in all ways that are possible. Before we go on with the final Torah reading, it's a true delight and honor to call Sarah Flores Shannon to our bima. Sarah has been on a journey of identity, of spiritual formation. Come on up, Sarah. Over the last year, and we're going to call her for her very first aliyah today of her life. But before we do that, Sarah, we're asking you to share with us some of the really outstanding insights that you have harvested during this time. So first, just to turn to you for words of Torah.
Hello. I'm Sarah, as Rabbi Rachel just said. And so in preparation for my conversion, I was asked to pick a portion or a line, a verse from the Torah. So what I picked was Exodus 25:8, which is, and let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. So when I was contemplating which portion from the Torah I was going to pick for this assignment, a few passages immediately came to mind. I considered choosing a verse from the parashah from around my birthday or from earlier in Exodus when Moses leads the Israelites out of Egypt. However, I couldn't deny how intrigued I was by the many pages of text where God describes the appropriate gifts that should be collected from every person whose heart so moves him, and the incredibly detailed instructions for building the tabernacle. Having never fully read this portion prior to the assignment, I was genuinely surprised and impressed by the instructions and appreciated the diagram that provides readers with a visual of what the tabernacle would have looked like. I was drawn to this section of the Torah because of this attention to detail and precision that is shared when describing how to construct the tabernacle, this holy place. As the vast majority of my adult journey toward Judaism has taken place outside of a temple, it was fascinating to shift my focus and get a better idea of the role that a collective, physical, holy space played in the lives of the Israelites. Since God appeared and spoke to many people throughout the Torah prior to the construction of this tabernacle, what was the need for this space? What does it mean for the divine to dwell among them? And how do we interact with the divine in the absence of a holy space? On the other hand, I'm reminded of the golden calf that I believe appears in the following weekly Torah portion. Admittedly, whenever I think of religious idols, I think of little dolls or figurines that may not be accurate in an archaeological sense. I visualize idols as something tangible that humans create as a way to showcase and define their beliefs in an infinite divine power among them. Perhaps God knew that the Israelites would need a space where they could more easily register that they were in a sacred space with the divine. I also wonder if this was an important step in bringing the Israelites together as a community that needed to work toward their single goal of constructing a tabernacle together. Like countless others throughout the pandemic, I was unable to experience a Jewish community in person, either through social justice Jewish spaces or by attending Shabbat services. I truly happily reflect on this experience and truly believe that 2020 was the year that I was supposed to begin my conversion journey. In fact, I would argue that we collectively made our own sanctuaries, whether in our living rooms, bedrooms, and kitchens. Many of us rearranged furniture, updated our broadband capacities, and tried hard to create divisions between work and home, secular and sacred. Sarah Hurwitz's book, Here All Along, was a foundational text in my adult journey. I loved the third chapter titled, Freeing God from His Human-Shaped Cage in the Sky. The chapter breaks down several ideas of God from different rabbis and Jewish scholars. One version that feels especially fitting to share is from Mordecai Kaplan. God as an actualizing force. So say that again, God as an actualizing force. The section shares a few lines from Kaplan, describing God not as the supernatural force that, but rather as a kind of force. Hurwitz summarizes this belief by writing, Kaplan was talking about the process through which all living beings take on their highest form. The other day during my Beit Din, I shared how my work as a reproductive justice advocate goes hand in hand with my Judaism. When I'm attending a rally, lobbying legislators, or supporting my fellow community members, I feel an unexplainable force that propels me to do this work. While my perception of the divine continues to evolve, I am confident that there is a force that moves through me and encourages me to show up every day. I believe this version fits beautifully into the story of the construction of the tabernacle, where cloth, animal skin, wood from acacia trees, copper and gold are all brought together to become one holy space where God can dwell among them. My other favorite description from this book comes from the 20th century Jewish philosopher Martin Buber, and Hurwitz goes on to explain his argument to be that God is found in relationship, and that we connect to the divine by connecting deeply to one another. This is one more way among many that I conceptualize this verse from the Torah. Again, the verse that I chose was, and let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. As I mentioned before, I believe that the act of coming together to build something, to serve the community and the divine is holy and a unifying act. By using Zoom, our sacred texts, and our desire to connect to a broader community, we came together over the past year and created our own sanctuaries. We made digital spaces that were meaningful and that in some ways allowed many of us to deepen our connection and practice to Judaism. I know that I am not alone in enjoying the ability to avoid the commute and log on to a Zoom service or other Jewish events with guests from around the country. I attended many events and trainings that I'm confident would not have been as accessible to me had they not been virtual. We learned how to navigate new platforms and best practices for Zooming when in large groups, such as the mute button. And our construction of these online sanctuaries was not without struggle or having to unfortunately realize the 45-minute Zoom time limits for those free accounts. Through trial and error, and I am sure some exclamations of annoyance and also prayers of gratitude, we have built our imperfect sanctuaries. Even with the occasional technology issues, I am more than sure that the divine is present among each of us. Thank you.
Wow. So we're going to call Sarah for her first Aliyah. Oh yeah, that's. Need to roll. It's gonna be here. Okay.
So it's going to be up here somewhere. Oh.
Here it is.
Sarah, attention spot.
Ta'amod Sarah Livia, Bat Abraham v'Sara la'aliyah, Lematir.
Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kervanu lavodato ve'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
We're now Numbers 7, verse 87 through 89 in the newer Plout 936, or in the older beginning on 1074. So again, it's Numbers chapter 7, beginning with verse 87.
Amen. B'nei habakar la'olam, shenem asar parim, elim shenim, elim shenem asar, kevasim b'nei shana, shenayim asar hamin hatam. Us izim shenem asar lechat vecho bakar zevach hashlamim esraim li'arba'a parim elim shishim atudim shishim kevasim b'nei shana shishim Shishim zot Chanukat hamizbeach acharei himashach ito uvevo Moshe el ohel moed ledaber ito vayishma et hakol midaber elav me'al hakaporet asher el aron ha'edut mibein shnei hakruvim v'yedaber elav.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tohenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
So Sarah, I'll ask you to stay here, and I just want to acknowledge Jeff Turetsky, who read so beautifully just now, and who has been one of those people on the front lines for the last year and a half. I know you modestly say, Jeff, actually an oncologist, not really. But not only, putting in just heroic work at Georgetown, but also being truly a guardian angel behind the scenes with a number of people in our community who have been, who have met with their own health crises. And Jeff, we're so grateful to you for all the many things that you bring to this community and to the world. Torah. Sarah. I think that your amazing words just now speak for themselves and demonstrate what an incredible intellect you are, and a person of incredible intellectual curiosity and spiritual curiosity. And that's the first thing I want to affirm for you as you continue in your journey here in the United States, and as you soon travel to Dublin, Ireland to begin your graduate studies. There will be a place for you in this community no matter where you go. And we look forward to welcoming you back here in person whenever you're back here. You have come to this process with so much energy and so much agency and so many interesting questions that have challenged me, and I think also Rabbi Fred, who got to work with you a little bit, and have helped us each to see new possibilities of this ancient tradition, which is now yours as well. We understand this process of Geirut, of becoming a Gioret, a Jew by choice, which of course on some level we all are today, but now you as well, not to be in any way a negation of the beautiful person that you have already been, but now to include you in an ancient legacy that has many gifts to bring to the world and which is still in search of its own path to peace. I want to say a Misha Berach for you, a prayer of blessing for you, but first to acknowledge some of the people that are here today who have been your firm support as you come to this process. Susan Kaplan, who was called up to the Torah already, has been a longtime member of our community, but was the link between Sarah and Adat Shalom. It's a longtime family friend, and who I think said to you, maybe you want to check out Adat Shalom. And aren't we so fortunate? So thank you, Susan. And I want to acknowledge Sarah, your family that are here today. Your mom, Sarah, and your dad, Dennis. And is this your brother, Brendan?
Mhm.
And are these?
Yeah. Carrie, Alexandra, and Judy, and Charlie, and Katie.
Welcome to all of you. We are so blessed to have you with us this morning, and grateful for the love and support that you have given to Sarah from the moment she appeared on the planet and all through her life. And I just want to acknowledge what a pleasure it was to be with your parents and with Susan at the mikveh, the ritual immersion on Wednesday, this past Wednesday. Your name in Jewish tradition will be Sarah Livia Bat Avraham V'Sara, always still a beautiful and proud daughter of your parents on the planet, but also now a daughter of Israel. I'd like to say this Misha Berach in your honor. And if I could, I would hold your hand, but can I? Yeah. I'll say it in Hebrew and English. Misha Berach Avotenu Abraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yivarech et Sarah Levia Bat Abraham v'Sara Shalta lichvod hamakom lichvod haTorah v'lichvod haShabbat. HaKadosh Baruch Hu yichayea v'yishmerea mikol tzara v'tzukah ומכל נגע ומחלה, וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיה, ויברכיה עם כל ישראל, אחיך ואחיותיך, ונאמר אמן. What we're saying is, may the source of blessing who flowed through our ancestors, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebecca, Jacob and Leah and Rachel also flow through you. Sarah Flores Shannon, Sarah Livia Bat Abraham Sarah, you who have come forward in honor of this place, in honor of the Torah, in honor of Shabbat, in honor of this new chapter, may the Holy One of Blessing give you life and protection from all trouble and affliction, from every harm and sickness. And may there be blessing and success, great success, in all the works of your hand, heart, and mind. May you be blessed with all Israel, your brothers and sisters. And we say, Amen. Sing and Mazel tov, and as Noah said before, after your talk, simply can we all join together in saying Brucha Haba'ah? Welcome. Is there anything else you want to
Just a quick thanks to my parents for, when I told them I wanted to convert, they were like, oh, we assumed at some point it was going to happen. So being overwhelmingly supportive, and just everyone who was able to be here together for, I think, only my second or third time, even in this sanctuary, and all of my friends and family who were able to join on Zoom. So yeah, this has just been such a magical journey, and I'm so happy that I got to take these steps here with the Adat Shalom community. So thank you.
call forward Mark Solomon and Jen Sherman to lift and dress the Torah, and ask us all to stand. Supporters are happy. Shalom, 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 shalom. can be seated for this moment. Yasher Koach to Jen Sherman, who has, I think people know, but just in case you don't, been the chair of our Religious Practices Committee and is now carrying on as the co-chair, doing marvelous service for all of us. Bear with me for just a moment. I want to ask us, before we put the Torah away for this Shabbat, to turn our attention to Israel and to Palestine. We are, of course, I hope, I believe, still holding on to a very fragile ceasefire after 2 weeks of intense violence, of heartbreaking loss of life, of soul-crushing fear, and now newly activated hatred between these ancient cousins. And so here we are with our prayers. Our prayers are the only weapon that we have and are needed as much as ever. Like many of you, maybe all of you, I've watched the recent violence with such a mixture of responses. Anger and indignation at the Israeli government, prayers for protection, I admit, first for my Israeli family, then for Israelis, then for Palestinians. As has been the case in many, many times in recent decades, I found myself hard pressed to explain, much less defend, the actions of the Israeli government, especially to my own children. The violence of the last 2 weeks, now quiet, has only deepened that hatred between parties. Of course, only sowed more anger, more despair, more rationale for revenge. Today's Israeli and Palestinian children now have this boulder on their backs. How will we teach them to respect and trust one another? And like I think most of you in this room, maybe all of you, as a consumer of the liberal news media, I listened closely to President Biden's dialogue with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and heard the undeniable shift in tone with some alarm. American support for Israel, always rock solid in the past, is now starting to look a little bit vulnerable. I received in my inbox this week a copy of a letter written by a group of liberal American rabbinic students from, I believe, from all the liberal seminaries, from JTS, from HUC, from Hebrew College, from Aleph, and from RRC. These students composed a letter together expressing Jewish outrage at the injustices manifest by the Israeli government and military, injustices for many years, not just now. They expressed that same sense of outrage that many of us have felt, that same sense of devastation, which somehow comes from a shared responsibility for that suffering. Because of course, we don't feel the same anger and indignation at the other governments of the world that act out in these unjust and cruel ways. But we have a responsibility, we feel, or I feel, for what comes out of Israel, even though I'm not an Israeli citizen. I feel somehow responsible for the suffering meted out by the Israeli government on those living in the territories. And of course, there is plenty of suffering among Israelis at the hand of Israel's enemies, both near and far. So I got to also see the response to this student letter. A few different responses from a few different deans. And one of them I thought was so beautifully crafted. I'd like to share with you a little bit of it. It was very meaningful to me to read and helped me to harmonize my deep love of Israel, my deep concern for Israel, and my deep wish that Israel continue to try to find its way to its own ideal and potential. The original vision, I believe, of Zionism, which is not the situation we have today. This is from Rabbi Sharon Cohen Anisfeld, who is the rabbinic dean at Hebrew College in Boston. She writes to her students and all those students. About two qualities that she felt were missing in the letter written by those students. Two things she wished that could have been articulated by those students. The first is Ahavat Yisrael. Ahavat Yisrael, the love of Israel, love for Israel, which in her words means a willingness to speak with love and compassion in the first person plural, to grieve with our fellow Jews in the first person plural, to be afraid with our fellow Jews in the first person plural, and not only to be ashamed in the first person plural, though she acknowledges that shame too is a powerful expression of belonging. So I'm adding in my own words that we somehow find our way to hold both of these places and not feel like our sense of anger and indignation cancel out our love. She continues, a willingness to acknowledge that anti-Semitism is an ongoing reality, that there are those in the Middle East and all around who seek to harm, demean, or destroy us because we are Jews. And finally, she writes, a willingness to affirm the dignity and sanctity of all human life, and at the same time, hold a special place in our heart for the Jewish people. Not because our lives matter more than other lives, she writes, God forbid, but because we are responsible to and for each other. Or to put it another way, in striving to hold the paradox of our famous quote from our sage, Im ein ani li mi li, if I'm not for myself, who am I? Uchshe le'atzmi ma ani, and if I'm only for myself, what am I? She says, she fears we may hold too tightly to the former, too tightly to the latter and neglect the former. And the second of the two qualities she lifts up is anava, humility, which she says would look like this: a humble recognition that things sometimes look simpler from a distance. Some acknowledgement that we are speaking from a place of relative safety and comfort. It's easy for us to criticize from our beautiful living rooms. Some awareness of the fact that many good people will be deeply pained by this harsh critique. And some recognition of the people on whose shoulders we all stand, within and beyond the Jewish community, both here and in Israel, who have been working for decades for Palestinian human and civil rights, for an end to the occupation, for an equitable and sustainable peace, who have shed many tears and whose hearts have been broken several times over. My heart is broken again. To close, I want to say something about the priestly blessing, which again is part of this week's parasha and begins, as you all know, famously, Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Our Meforshim, several of our bigger commentators say this means the following: may God bless you with all that you need in your life. If you're a scholar, may you be blessed with abundant insight, abundant students, abundant text. If you're a business person, may you have success in business, etc. And v'yishmerecha, to keep you, to guard you, protect you from that blessing turning into a curse. if it becomes oversized. So for instance, if you're a scholar, protect you from intellectual arrogance and false piety. If you're a business person, protect you from greed. If you're a soldier, protect you from moral injury, which is that dissonance that comes when you find yourself fulfilling your duties in a way that compromises your morality. To be a Jewish state means to be guided by the core principles of Torah: justice, even in wartime, fairness, kindness to the stranger, protection for the vulnerable. So let's turn our ancient blessing on our beloved modern land. May God bless you, Israel, with all that you need to thrive and fulfill the vision of Zionism. And may God keep you, Israel, from devolving into the unjust and chaotic violence that is too easily at hand. Ask you, with all of that and with all of your own thoughts and prayers, to join me in the prayer for the state of Israel. It's on page 421 in our Siddur. And Mark, if you're comfortable to stand. Page 421. Sur Yisrael v'goalo, barech nad medinat Yisrael, reshit tzmichat geulatenu. Hagen aleha berov chasdecha, ufros aleha sukat shalomecha. Shalach orcha ve'amitcha lerashea, leshoftea, ulenivcharea. V'takneim be'etzat tova milfanecha, lema'an yelchu b'derech hatzedek, hachofesh, ve'ayosher. Chazek yedei meginei eretz kodshenu, v'anchilem Yeshua v'chayim, v'natata shalom ba'aretz, v'simchat olam l'chol yoshveha. Pekodna livracha et achenu beit Yisrael b'chol artzot pezurehem. Ta belibam ahavat Zion, umivahem mikol amenu yehi Elohav imo vaya'al. Ha'atzel meruchacha al kol yoshvei eretz kodshenu, haser mikirbam sin'a ve'eva, kin'a ve'reshut. V'ta belibam ahava ve'achva, shalom ve'reut. V'kayem b'imhera chazon neviyecha. Lo yisagoy el goy cherev, v'lo yilmedu od milchama. V'nomar amen. Let's stay standing together so we can return the Sefer Torah. Please join me, page 441. Before we sit, let's go right to our Aleinu. And Jeff, will you lead us there? Page 445.
Will Kakahatu b'toratecha Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'ema v'haya Adonai v'melech al kol ha'aretz v'yom hahu yiheh Adonai echad u'shemo
We can be seated. I think some of us know, but the news will yet be announced to the whole community. We are mourning with Andy Swire and the extended Swire family, the death of Andy's mother, Stephanie, known to her family always as Stevie Swire, died this past week. And the funeral will be this coming week, and Shiva for our community, this coming Wednesday night on Zoom. Send comforts and condolences to all the Swires. I also want to acknowledge Rena Milchberg and Rabbi Fred and I received the news this week that our former member, longtime member, Bert Wiener, passed away this week. I know I can hear that many of you remember him fondly. I understand that his family had a very loving and calm and peaceful farewell with him, and that he was very much ready and is now somewhere with Elaine in the place wherever beautiful souls go. Want to also acknowledge the recent losses in our community. Todd Levitt, on the loss of his mother, Marilyn Levitt. Joan Kahn, who is with her family remembering Len's mother, Florence Blackman. And the following yard sites that are being observed this week. Gordon Myers' father, Sumner Myers. Michael Ackerman's father, Harry Ackerman. Mary Catherine Fish's mother, Louise Fish. Hope Gleicher's mother, Sandra Gordon. Marge Coffey's sister, Susan Linane. Hadar Harris's grandmother, Pauline Kahn. Bob Lubrand's daughter, Beth Alicia Lubrand. Sheila Feldman's aunt, Rachel Teplin. Melissa Crow's grandfather, Sanford Levitt. Sandy Pearlstein's father, Arthur Pearlstein. Adam Hirsch's grandfather, Morris Hirsch. Lori Persh's sister, Gail Cuff. Shelley Sadowski's father, Wallace Sadowski, and also Jocelyn Schaffer's father, Wallace Sadowski. Scott Willett's father, Arthur Willits. Myra Falk's mother, Sybil Grossman. Alex Joel's father, Clark Joel. Louis Corman's mother, Edzia Gorman. Edward Nelson's father, Bernard Nelson. Nan Furman's mother, Marion Derrick. Sue Driesen's father, Michael Demby. Mark Klappau's grandfather, Saul Friedman. Ronna Popkin's grandfather, Abraham Goldman. Alan Joseph's father, Julian Joseph. Andy Swire's father on the first yard site, Bill Swire, William Swire. Mark Klappau's grandfather, Saul Friedman. Sorry, we said. And Michelle Mellinger's aunt, Anne Mann. The Kaddish Yatom is in our Siddur, page 451. I just want to pause here and ask if there are any others remembering someone that they'd like to name today. And if not, I ask for those who are standing to please recite together page 451. Yes. Your mother, Leah Siegel, Alea Hashalom. Please join. Yit Gadal, V'yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah. Ve'alma Dibrach Yirutei, V'yamlich Malchutei. B'chayechon, V'yomechon, V'chaye, D'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala, U'mizman Kari, V'imru Ameh. Yehei Shmei Rabbah, Mevorach, Le'alam, U'ameh Amaya. Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpo'ar, V'yitromam, V'yitnaseh. V'yithadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shemei D'kudsha Abrichu. Le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma ve'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shamaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav u'ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. All of our memories for blessing. I want to ask Shelley Sadowski to come forward, our immediate past president and current board member, to give some greetings. And Shelley, before you step here, I just want to say, please join me in sharing enormous gratitude to our executive director, Rena Milchberg. So many hours. It doesn't look like it, 'cause it looks like just plug in your computer and what's the big deal, but many hours and conversations go into reorienting us all to figuring out how to make it work. And as you can see, we're still finding our way. So we appreciate everyone's patience, but for everything that's gone okay this morning, let's give Rena that credit. Shelley.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's really wonderful to see everyone here. And for all of you on Zoom, thank you for joining us today, and hope that some of you will be able to join us here in the coming weeks. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to speak without getting off the clump, but this is so terrific. So I just, anyway, a couple of things coming up that I want to just remind you all. This coming Tuesday night is our annual meeting. We hope you will all attend via Zoom. And next Shabbat, there will also be an in-person element. So for those of you who wish to come, please register in advance. And in 2 weeks, another hybrid service. And that time we will be joined by, Micah Hendler, I'm sorry, I forgot his name. Our wonderful musical leader who has joined us for several Shabbaton, and this will be the last one with in connection with the Sid Schwarz's father, Alan Schwarz's memorial Shabbaton. So with that, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Please read Social Solidarity when it comes out. It's a lot of effort goes into putting it out there for us to read. So please, and also, if you have issues, questions, whatever, please bring them to the board. We're happy to hear from you. And I just want to reiterate thanks to Rena, and thank you to Rachel and Rabbi Fred, who's not here in the sanctuary with us today. But this has been an amazing reemergence. Thank you for all the work done in connection with this. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you. So ask our wonderful Jeff Weintraub to lead us in Kiddush and Motzi. And then there is a piece of challah for everybody, singly wrapped and sanitized. It'll be. And Carson Feldman. Carson is not in the room, I don't think, with us, but thank them too. Very wonderful. So that'll be, Rena, that's going to be outside the main entrance, correct? Right out here. And anybody who reads Torah, please sign up to read Torah. We have a lot of readings available.
Page 465. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et hashabbat la'asot et hashabbat לדורותם ברית העולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים והארץ השביעי שבת וינחש. ספרי חבריי Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Shabbat shalom.
Goodbye, everybody.
Zoom friends, Shabbat Shalom. I look here. And we look forward to seeing you whenever the time is right. And I think maybe now you have a chance to visit together on Zoom as we've been doing. Shabbat Shalom.
You can hear me over all of them talking, but if folks want, I can put us into breakout rooms for a little while.
Oh, yeah, do that, Amy. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right, let me,
Yes.
okay. Let me find the thing. I'm on two different monitors here.
Anyone that's denied a holla, they can just look at my picture.
Jeff, thank you for a hybrid service. You're on Zoom right now.
Yeah, I saw this on screen over here.
Okay, we're going into breakout.
Yeah.
Hi, Gary. You're muted. You should be able to unmute yourself, I think. Yeah, there you go. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Jan.
Thank you, Amy. To you as well.
Good to see you both.
Same here. It's always good to see you.
Have you been able to at least look outside and enjoy the gorgeous day we have going?
Oh, yeah, we do. Sure.
Good, good. Hello, Sachs family. Need to unmute yourselves. That is if you want to talk to me and Jan and Mary.
Hi.
Here we go. Hey there.
Mom's working the.
Hello.
Yeah, did you get that? Mom's working the computer. That's why it was so slow.
It's fine. Hi, Charlotte. Hi, Mike. You can unmute yourselves.
We don't know what happened to our other breakout room.
It was, there were three people and one, we didn't hear it all. And Fred said he could hear us, but Rabbi Fred, but we couldn't hear him.
Okay.
Oh, well,
right.
It was a good try.
It's nice to see you.
Anyway, Amy, how are you?
I am good, thank you.
Hello, Saxes, how are you?
We're good.
I was supposed to be sending out a link or sharing a thing, but we went into breakout room, so I'm not going to bother. There's a thank you video from the Torah school kids, which was on the cute side. That was hard to understand all the kids because I watched it yesterday. Yeah. Because today's the last day of Torah school for the year. Yeah. So how did the hybrid method work for you guys?
Not bad, not bad. I'm putting the whatever you call it, the feedback thing, that they needed to adjust the microphones because Jeff was drowning out Rachel. Other than that, not bad. What did you think?
Well, actually, initially when they were practicing, Rachel was drowning out Jeff before I let anybody in. And then I was like, Jeff, I can't hear you. And I'm just hearing guitars. And they got it balanced. So I thought it was doing better. But there's still some tricky stuff with the mics. And the positioning of that laptop, if someone was standing too much to the side, they weren't in the frame.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. And I wish we could have seen the audience just once. That would have been nice.
You
But
should have seen it. Matt was using his phone every once in a while to pan, and I was trying to spotlight when he did that so you could see who was there. And we just lost the saxes. Somehow they clicked off instead of joining. Okay.
so Gary, and please say hello to Jan. Can she hear us?
She can hear us.
Thank
Yes.
you, Charlotte. I sure can.
Good. Shabbat Shalom, Jan. I'm glad you can be here.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom to you and Mike.
Hi, John. You need to unmute yourself. There you go.
Oh, hi. Hi, Amy. How are you?
I'm good. Were you in a breakout room?
I just went, I was on services and then I left for a minute and then I came back just now.
Okay. So now you're in the main breakout room. These are all of us who did not go into a breakout room.
Oh, good. Well, these are the important people. I know. Hi. I recognize some of you.
Well, since I was the one doing the breakout rooms, I don't go into a breakout room. So.
Well, I was just fascinated. I was listening to services and I couldn't see the audience. Is there a way to see that? And I just didn't see it? Or?
Not yet. Matt was using his cell phone a couple of times to pan.
Mm-hmm.
And then he would tell me when he was doing it and I would spotlight him so you guys could see him panning, and the quality was so-so because it was off his cell phone.
Yeah.
Right now, as far as the laptops and all go, they just have that one focused on the Beamer.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
While we get that part squared away and comfortable with it, and then figure out how we do it so those of us on Zoom can see the entire sanctuary. That's a few steps down the road.
So how many people get the services, and do you know, or?
I don't know offhand. I know the limit was 115, and I know they still had some open slots. Mm-hmm. So I'd say they got pretty close to it. I want to say maybe 80, 90, I'm not sure. And at the peak, we had on Zoom, I think we had close to 70 boxes, which of course could mean more than 70 people. Yeah.
I looked several times, and so it was interesting. So maybe this is going to be the new normal. What do you think?
It probably is going to be the new normal once we work out some of these kinks and how to make it go smoothly on both sides. Zoom's not going away. We're going to have to do some kind of a hybrid version going forward as a semi-permanent way of doing things.
I've been basically because of my companion has a big house in south of Old Town, and so it's it's a real schlep to get up to the shul. I'd rather do Zoom a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to recruit members from across the country.
That's good too.
Well, I'm not going as far as what you're describing, John, but that's a disincentive for me to get up, try to get there. This is really better. But so it depends on how it continues to feel. Right now, it felt okay.
Yeah, and of course, I'm being a little bit facetious, but of course, but without the onigs, why come? No, I'm just
maybe not that facetious, actually.
At some point, some version of the onigs will most likely return, but I have no idea when. That's something that has to really be worked out carefully, and I'm speaking with my board.
There's still a lot to work out.
Yeah,
we're doing very well given what's going on.
Yes.
There's Paul.
Hey, Paul.
I went up that far last weekend to say hi. Well, I guess he's gone. I went up to Paul's meditation last Sunday That took an hour from my house to get all the way up there.
Oh, yeah, that would take a while. He's in Silver Spring, isn't he?
He's right, yeah, but it's kind of right on, how can I describe it? It's right on the border, really, of Potomac.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's way up there. A very, very interesting community. I've never seen it before. I don't even know what it's called, but it used to be a military hospital originally and it turned into condos, and it's really gorgeous. So almost another month. Unbelievable.
Sure is. All right, well, listen, I think we're gonna say goodbye. Shabbat shalom. Feel better, Jan. I hope that we can see you one of these days.
Yes.
Good to see you, Gary.
Yes.
Bye, everybody.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. Bye-bye.
Shabbat shalom.
I don't know how to get out.
Want to go?
Well, we think we're gonna go out.
Okay. Shabbat shalom. We're going to be leaving too.
Okay.
Bye-bye, Jan.
Jan. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
You guys are muted. Welcome back.
Amy, thank you for Zooming. Are you Zooming in the building or are you?
No, I'm at home.
I guess I've never seen this room of yours.
Oh, it's my office area because I have two monitors. This way I can use my large monitor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amy, for setting that up.
Yeah.
My
Thank you
pleasure.
for-
Glad everyone's able to enjoy it. Have a wonderful Shabbos.
Yes.
Thank you, Amy,
Bye-bye.
for bringing us together. Thank you, Rabbi Rachel. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shalom Wall, thank you for everyone that made this possible.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Shabbat Shalom.
See you next week in some format.
Shabbat Shalom.
The annual meeting on Tuesday.
Thank you,
Thank you
Amy.
all who put
Thank you,
this
Amy.
together.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Amy.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Amy.
Have a good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.